this week because I kind of been neglecting that. Only been doing scrims for a while. Did a lot of individuals with a lot of people on the team, and kind of wanted to go over a couple of uh, not really tips, but just strategies, just improvement strategies for when you're playing ladder. Because a lot of people on the team have been having a rough week, and I've been kind of going making the rounds and making sure everybody's not going insane and stuff like that. Ladder sometimes sucks, so um, always obviously no guarantee of what your team is going to do. So what we're going to talk about is really just what you can do to try to feel a little bit more control of your outcome, right? Like you can't guarantee it, but you can output a little bit more influence than maybe some of you think. The first thing that I've been bagging on everybody in D1 for, so if you're in D1, you already hear me say this, you guys need to have some kind of structured practice, okay? And my prescription for that for you is 5 games at a time, uh, with logging your game on the sheet, reflecting on one thing you could have done better and one thing you did well that game before you get your next queue. Because that forces you to think before your next queue, and then you don't just tilt queue and go on for 8, 10 games and lose them all because you're not thinking. The reason for that is like it forces you to take a break, right? It forces you to think and not just act out of emotions. And also, 5 games is about 2 hours for most people. If you're a DPS, it's going to be longer. Okay, it's pretty hard for me to believe anybody can have maximum concentration level for more than 2 hours straight. Um, and if you have like hour and a half lectures right now, all your professors know this to be a fact. Even 90 minutes for pure undivided attention is kind of long. We're going to talk about some stuff here, which hopefully should prove to you, in no uncertain terms, you really do need your full brain power to pull off some of these plays, right? To actually get value on ladder, to make sure you're not wasting time and reinforcing bad habits. Because if you're just going to reinforce bad habits and autopilot and just tilt away 400 SR and whatnot without stopping, without thinking, at some point that's going to be your new normal. It's going to be the rule, not the exception, and that's really bad for you and bad for everybody that you play with. So please stop doing this, okay? Use the log. Reflect between every game, 5 at a time. Take an hour at least. Break in between sessions. If you want to do a new sitting, you feel good to go. That's fine. Make sure you do it with a clear head and that you know you're focusing. Okay. So a big thing we're going to talk about here is something I want to call just expectation maximization. If you're computer science, statistics kind of guy, right? This should sound familiar. You look at a given situation and you ask yourself, what's the best thing that I can do that's going to have the highest ceiling? All right, meaning if I play this perfectly, if I execute flawlessly, what's the action that I'm going to perform that has the most potential for return? Now, that's also going to be countered by the risk of that play, because as you know, if nothing comes for free, right? These higher value, higher ceiling plays usually have lower floors, meaning there's a lot more risk. You could get picked, you could feed. But you do need to push yourself to recognize these plays and go for them. Because if you don't, you're going to be stuck in that cycle where you feel like you're not doing anything wrong, but you're also not doing anything, and you feel like you're relying on your team to do something, and then it feels like you have no control of the game. And that feels probably worse, as bad if not worse, than just getting picked or making a mistake, right? Because at least you're like, oh, okay, I tried to make a decent play, it didn't work out, I can now reflect on why I didn't execute the play that I set up properly, as opposed to just like, oh, it's not my job, I can't do anything from here, hope my team does something. That sucks, because if you assume all things are equal, roughly a third of the time your teammates are better than the other team, a third of the time they're worse, a third of the time they're even. Well, you're going to have about 30% win rate if you do that, right? You're relying on that 30% of the time that your team is better than the other team, if even. So that feels like shit. So let's not do that. And here's a couple examples that we're going to talk about. I went through this with Ben a lot last night, and with his permission, I'm going to not roast him, but just bring this out a little bit and try to see if you can apply this in your games in other roles and other contexts. Okay, so this is going to be second fight on Havana, and Ben is this guy right here. Okay, this Zen, and he has a couple options coming out of spawn. One is to go left and to shoot in here. Now, if you had an aimbot right now, or if you were a Jay Jonak sitting right here, the expected value of this play is pretty low, right? The best you can do is shoot this shield, maybe. And at any point, these guys can, like, if this guy's shield breaks, he golds, he ducks away, the Discord goes away. Like, this is not going to net you much, even if you play perfectly. If you're the best player in the world, this won't do anything for you. So what else can you do for this guy? Well, looking at the situation here, right, you might think, okay, this sucks. I need to do something to make these guys look away, right? To buy a bit of space from our team. And like, really, this hog doesn't need your orb. He's got a break here. Even if he didn't have a break, this is a hog. He doesn't need your orb. what I'd want you to do is to just come out this right side, or like once you leave spawn, right? Just cheat this side. If you don't want to cross because of the widow, just leave spawn this way. Cheat this side. Walk this way. You had plenty of time to do this on the setup. Walk this way, okay? And you're looking to right-click volley these guys on the side. Maybe you kill somebody. Who knows? If you don't, maybe you right-click volley the widow. It's a little bit less consistent because it's farther away, so I'd probably just go for this. Worst case scenario, right? Like you volley these guys. This widow looks at you. These guys look at you, and you just duck, right? You have a mini here. If you take damage, you're fine. You might buy enough time for either your hog to get a hook or your widow to get a pick. Because if these guys are looking at you, they're not looking at the widow, right? Or you might force an early nade. You might force some resource out of these guys that is going to make your team able to make a play. Whereas sitting here, like, yeah, low risk. Still not zero because you're playing in a closed space against a double shield with no shield of your own. You could get pulled, right? But like very low reward. This is higher risk, right? It's like the super flank play. But it's very high reward. You could kill somebody, you could draw a lot of attention, and you could help your widow get a pick, right? And this can apply to a lot of different people. Right? Like if you're this brig, okay, you can be like, okay, I can sit here and try to brawl in the double shield and do literally nothing. Or what else could you do? Well, you can maybe help your Zen flank, so the brig could also come with you and just shield. Oh crap! What happened? And just shield you here. And then you could sit here longer, right? And now you're not afraid necessarily of getting hit one shot by the widow. You can actually play this angle a lot more aggressively. If you don't want to do that because it takes a little too long, then like the next best thing, or something that's probably equally good, is just to sit here with your widow and shield her. Or you help this widow take the duel. You just chill here, or like you chill here. As soon as the widow scopes in, you pop out, you shield her. All right, you make this a 2v1, not a 1v1. And if either of these things happen and your widow gets a kill off of this, then you contributed to the play, right? You did something to make this guy's life easier. You did something to contribute to a win condition for your team, rather than to sit here and hope your team gets a pick. Because what happens here is this guy sits here and does nothing. This guy sits here from where he can't do much. And you're just like, okay, I hope my widow's better than their widow. And, you know, turns out, yeah, your widow is better than their widow. This is great. He gets a pick. Okay? But you guys didn't help. You guys didn't contribute to this, right? If this guy gets a pick because the widow was looking at the Zen, then you helped. If this guy gets a pick because the brig was pocketing and shielding the widow, then this guy contributed, right? If this guy gets a pick because the ball was over here, like swung in and tried to harass the widow, or like swung on the backline, made the widow turn around, then you know this guy contributed. But this is like not great, right? Because this is you're not taking control over the situation, or you're not putting your fate in your hands as much as you can. You're kind of relying on your team to do something, and we don't like this, right? And like I can go over here and talk about this guy. Right? This is Josh. This is Peter on D1. You know, you're over here chilling here, right? And like you're on the other team, and you'd be like, wow, my widow sucks. But like, what's going on over here? What's just happening? You know, we're double stacking on this door, and we have Sigma. Like one of you, either you or the Sigma, needs to look at this side, right? Needs to block this widow off and shoot from this direction, because this is not contested. There's a shield here. Someone's shooting at this widow. This guy doesn't get the pick, right? So like, you can be like, oh, my widow sucks. Well, you didn't help this guy, right? You didn't like pull this widow. You didn't put a shield here and pressure her. You didn't pressure from the off angle. So like, we can pretty much any person in any lineup and say, okay, what could you have done more to help you to contribute to a win situation? Let us go forward a little bit, and we'll show one example where this was actually fairly decent. Whether intentionally or not, it doesn't matter. Let's see, where was that? Should have written down timestamps. So this is one situation where it worked out, right? Find it. Unlucky. Okay. So we're gonna sit here as Zen, and what's gonna happen is we're gonna peek the widow. Okay, and the widow's gonna turn around and look at you. Hang on. Okay, we're gonna spam here, play this off angle, which is good, right? You don't want to be main with your team in this situation, right? You're basically DPS at this point. You like have this brig and help you hold the side, and you're gonna sit here and shoot this guy, okay? And this widow, I'm gonna go to this widow's right. This widow's gonna be like, wow, I got a Zen on my right and a widow on my left. This is a crossfire. I don't want to be here, right? Because she can't look at both people at once. So she's gonna take a shot at you, take a shot at their widow, and then move, because she doesn't want to be caught in a two-way crossfire, and she's going to go to low ground, which is a worse position, and the Widow knows, this guy knows Blue Widow is rotating to lower ground, pre-scopes and kills him. Okay, so even though you didn't hit a single shot on this Widow, you helped your Widow get the kill, right, by being here, by contributing to pressure. And like you might not even realize this, like, okay, like I could just stand here and spam, but like you being here helped this guy kill somebody, and it was way more valuable than you sitting here shooting a shield. Right? We can go back a little bit here and see like another example here, right? Like we'll support some cart. Briggs pushing cart here, which is fine because you don't have a div or anything like that. But at this point, this guy needs to get off cart, walk this way, and pocket the Hanzo because this fight's gonna be won or lost based on what this guy does on the flank. All right, this hog sitting main, this ball sitting main, they're doing nothing. They'd be like, okay, these guys, your expected value is very little. I don't care about what you're doing. This guy's gonna get off cart, pocket the Hanzo. Same with the Zen. This guy, right? You shouldn't be here to begin with. We already talked about this. You know, this is super dangerous for you, but you should be here, and so you can orb the Hanzo. And also play an off angle on this door, right? So then people coming out this door have to say like, oh, do I shoot the Hanzo or do I shoot the Zen? And then if the Hanzo has a brig pocket, well then even better. Right, and then like we're gonna do this, we're gonna sit on cart and we're gonna try to help cart and help the hog fight cart. This guy's not expected to do much from here. This guy's not gonna do anything. Right? But this guy needs a lot of help. This Hanzo's gonna carry the fight for you if you let him, and he doesn't have any heals. And we're helping the hog. Alright, and this guy's expected to do nothing because he's main. He's main as a hog against double shield. He's not going to hook anybody. This guy can be expected to do a lot, but he's got no help. So, TLDR, if you want a bit more control in the ranked games, right, you need to focus and think about what the best thing to do is to contribute to your win condition, to contribute to a solution for your team, and then go do it, right? And then it's like, okay, what's the execution? Because you know, if you're on this crazy flank as a Zen, right? Then it's like, okay, if you get pulled, you get punished, and sometimes you will, right? Like sometimes you're gonna get punished, sometimes you're gonna throw for this kind of stuff. You're gonna lose games, and your reaction can't be, oh, that sucked, I can't do it. No, it's got to be, how do I, like, this is the thing I need to do because there's nothing better to do than this. This is the thing that has the most return, but also the most risk. How do I minimize risk, maximize return, maximize reward? Right, and that's mechanics. That's micro. That's decision making. That is putting the ball on your court, putting the weight on your shoulders, right? And that's when it's like what you do really matters. And if you die, it's like, okay, you did something wrong. That it's bad, but it's also good because then you could do something better next time to fix it. Versus you sit here, you spam shield. There's nothing you can do differently to change the outcome of this, right? So like you want to put yourself in situations where you feel like you have control, where you feel like you have influence. So yeah, and you might lose some games for this before you can figure it out, and that just might be okay. I'm not used to doing this. I need to figure out how to do it right. Maybe my mechanics need some work, right, to actually pull off the execution. But that is where you're gonna be on the road to improvement, where you actually put yourself in a position to where your mechanics are gonna matter. Because if you put yourself in these really bad positions, like if you have an aimbot here, it doesn't matter. You're shooting the high ground into a shield on main, it doesn't matter, right? So give yourself the opportunity to succeed. Put yourself in the opportunities where you're going to contribute the most and have the most expected value, the highest ceiling, and then you work on how you're going to execute those plays, improve your micro to raise the floor, right? To make sure you don't get punished, you don't throw, that you actually get value off your plays, and all of that really predicates on you thinking about this ahead of time, being concentrated, focused, engaged. That's why you can't afford a tilt queue. There's no room for that. It's like such a waste of time. So yeah, that is the TLDR for how to work on your ranked games. But like, it's easy for me to say this right now because I have, I can see where everybody is. I can pause the game and talk about it. But like, it's not that hard to think about this ahead of time, right? Because you have a lot of time in between games. You have a lot of time in games, but also in between fights. Like in real time, it's hard to like, okay, let's see where everybody is and let's make a decision. But if I were Ben here, right, you have a lot of time. You have a lot of time from, I don't know, all the way back here. Right, and we think, okay, how do we take this? Well, my house is already there, so how do I help this guy? Right, you have a lot of time to think about this, and your brain needs to be ticking here, because it's harder to do in real time, but it's not unreasonably hard, right? Like it's harder than for me to sit there looking at this, but you have a lot of time. Like there's already been about 10 seconds past, and there's gonna be about another 10 seconds before the final card happens. So just think about your highest value, where you can have the highest ceiling. Okay, that comes first, and then your execution comes second. Because trying to optimize a crappy play, a suboptimal play, a low ceiling play, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about your mechanics then. Put yourself in these positions where it actually matters. That's going to give you room to grow. Okay? And also, I just kind of want to show this real quick because it's funny. Because Aiden gets rolled here, and you know, this is amusing. Oh yes, good job, guys. All right, cool. Hope that was helpful. Go get them on rank, guys. Remember your prescription: 5 at a time. Log your games. Reflect. Focus. Think about maximizing your ceiling. All right. Good luck.